The most interesting store we visited while on our 15,000-mile long road trip was surprisingly in the city of Helena, Montana. When we first approached it, we were awed by the outside store display. Inside, it is reminiscent of a combination of movies like Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, and the introduction to Back to the Future. The store owners are fascinating with their knowledge and skills of antique repair and small anecdotes to complement them. While in Barnes' jewelry store, it can easily feel like you're going back in time to when you first saw the original Back to the Future movie for the first time.
You know, if you look at one's an old shoe that the lady's sitting in, flying around.
Espresso makers to humidifiers.
Yeah, I was really impressed with that. It's very original.
Yeah, it's really original.
So our friends Roberta Jones Wallace and Patty Lundeen, they're the creators of all of that. They've been doing it for about 12 years now. They came in and asked if they could walk our dog.
Oh, wow.
One day, and then the couple weeks later that we were all having breakfast and coffee, and then a couple weeks later they're like, could we propose that we borrow your window for a season or two?
See what happens.
And 12 years later they've created hundreds and hundreds of those characters.
Wow.
They're extremely gifted. I mean,
Yeah.
some stores just don't have anything appealing, and then this one was really quite amazing.
Right, and it really has nothing to do with jewelry, but it is very fun. But that's what we are.
Yeah.
I guess we like
It really
to.
gets people interested.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know what to expect
So
when
this
they
is
walk in that door.
This is a flying saucer.
Oh, wow.
This was made by them gals. And what it is, this is an old colander. And this is a chimney frame that goes around the chimney when they go put it in the wall. And then I lit them up so it looks like a real
Sputnik.
flying saucer. And then there's a lot of them in the window that have lights in them, but getting to them to change the batteries.
Oh, man.
That's a tough one.
part.
But it's this. I always thought this was just kind of cool.
I think
because
it's really cool.
and so creative. You know, it's just
Kind of reminds me of like a lot of 1960s TV shows. They would have it,
Yeah.
flying saucer like that.
Right, corny stuff. A lot of their characters, their overflow characters, getting ready to change out for winter.
Yeah, so I'm recording that.
So my name is Stacy Henry. I'm the jeweler here at Barnes Jewelry, here in Helena, Montana.
And yours?
I'm Marvin Hunt, and I bought the store from Mr. Barnes in about 1992. And this store has been not in this location, but in this location since 1955. But he originally opened his store, the first store, up on 6th Avenue in 1947, and then they moved down here and has been here ever since. And then he got old, retired, and I bought the store, and it has been an experience and quite an adventure. So,
Very cool. Oh, wow.
these used to be electric. So this is Stacy, and he's he's a good talker.
Oh, yeah, I've heard it.
He's not a very good. I'm not a very good talker. What's neat is this is your pocket watch escapements. These are technology that they use to make timepieces become perfect time. These were never good timekeepers, but it was just something that they used, thinking the theory was right.
He has a player beautiful.
So, but this is a real neat one. This was it's got a patent of 1883, and this is the Ignis floating ball clock,
They're neat.
and it's the
They
first
are
clock guaranteed never to keep time.
The younger
So,
people. Our generation is about the end. The rest is
all electronic.
well, they just know the
going to show you this. This is kind of this is a customer's. But if you look at this light, it comes on with the music box.
Wow. That's awesome.
And then when it quits, it goes off. It's kind of a neat. And this gal brought this in because she remembers it when she was a real little kid. They broke the spring in it, so we fixed it.
You have to be really skilled to be able to know how to fix these things.
Well, I think you have to be a tinkerer, and you're not a master of anything. That's kind of a unique clock right there.
Is it wind up?
Yeah, 8 days. Just like that, except it's all.
And this was a clock that was really popular when I was a kid, 50s and 60s. And the hands just sit there in the middle, and a lot of people can't figure out how the hands moved. The motor's down here on the bottom. But what it does is it turns the glass. There's a gear in there that turns the glass.
Oh, wow.
And it keeps time.
People.
And this way it stays the same. And then if you want to go back an hour or ahead an hour, then you just reach behind there. This really quick set for daylight and Mountain Standard Time. So, and these are kind of unique clocks. I find unique, and a lot of people, they like other kind of clocks that are.
A lot of people find that unique, and they would love to buy those clocks, but
It's not for sale.
he's pretty tight with parting with it.
This is a customer's right here. I can't sell it.
Oh, yeah.
And I got it apart so people can see the guts of it. So this is my next rebuild project. So this runs on air and vacuum.
Wow.
So when your pedals go down, it creates air, which runs what they call the wind motor. And then when the pedals come back up, it creates vacuum, which pulls these keys down just as soon as it goes through those little holes. So anyway, it's a lot of. When I fix it, I'm going to put a motor in it though.
Oh yeah, so that way you don't have to do it
I
manually.
don't have to do the manual.
How did you learn to do all these things?
I have been a tinkerer all my life. And I tore my mother's vacuum cleaner apart. And I got a whipping over it, but I put it back together too. So. But I've been, yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes. Yeah, no problem. Yes, it worked. But I got a whipping. So.
Living on Mars.
So the story behind this little guy, we had a customer, she came in one day, she was moving to Tennessee to run a bait shop with her new trucker boyfriend. But she said she wanted us to take care of her bird while she was away. And when she was a little girl, her and her cousin found a pair of tweezers and they plucked off all the feathers of this poor little bird. So I think her auntie was kind of mad about that. So when she passed away, our friend inherited the bird.
Wow.
So we're the keepers of the bird now, and we have other customers bringing in feathers to refeather it.
Oh, wow, that's very nice.
We're
That's
not going
awesome.
to refeather it. They won't have the same story.
Yeah.
And those were popular in 1917.
Wow.
That's kind of how old they are.
That's
I don't
amazing.
know if that one's particularly that old, but the women, when they put their powder on their face and stuff, they always had a little bit of a music box or something to
Entertain them.
entertain them. They had little dresser clocks
Yeah.
and stuff.
So we got on a bird kick after this one. And now we are always looking for crazy little bird music boxes.
And then people bring us stuff, lots of stuff.
Yeah. That's a sweet one.
Yeah, it's really
And then recently, our newest one. You gotta find the flyers for this.
Oh,
Our newest one is,
do I need to wind it?
yeah,
Where's the pliers?
is this little guy. This is sweet. So be prepared.
Oh, wow.
That one is a crazy bird.
Yeah.
That is great.
I don't know what they were thinking when they made that.
Wow.
But that's probably from the 60s,
Uh-huh.
early 70s, late mid 60s to early 70s, somewhere in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Very annoying. I don't think they were very popular. Maybe for about 15 minutes, kind of like the Billy Bob fish or whatever.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
A little goes a long ways. And then this is a fun one.
So when Grandma Crabface is above the player piano, and she's the gal that we bought the piano from after the family. It was a family estate. So
Yeah.
you can take a picture of Grandma Crabface.
And then we'll tell you why they called her Grandma Crab.
Oh, wow, I can see. Although a lot of people had kind of a crabby face, mainly because the shutter was so slow, so they had to keep it.
So this is why we call her Grandma Crabface, because we also have her teeth.
Oh, do you?
Oh, wow.
Oh my.
Wow.
Wow.
So we found those at the same estate sale. We just put 2 and 2 together.
Ah.
And this is all turned backwards, isn't it? The bird's backwards.
I think he'll flip around when he's
Ready?
prepared.
We should probably pull some feathers off of him.
That's our dirty bird.
That's our dirty bird. Do you guys remember F.W. Woolworth's
Oh,
5 and dime store?
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
This is the kind of stuff that they sold.
Oh, wow.
This stuff came from the 5 and dime store.
Cheesy.
It was $1.50. You know, it was a real cheap Christmas present for your aunt or somebody. You know,
Oh, I see.
Give the present to.
Yeah, wow.
Now they don't even give presents to. So.
They have the signed 5 and dime, I think, at California Adventure in California.
Sweet. Sweet.
So did you get a picture of this flute, this clock, this light here?
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, I didn't quite see the flute before. Now I do. Yeah, that's a pretty cool lamp.
And you guys are heading to Glacier, is that what you're doing?
Yeah, we'll be heading there next.
Let's see if I can find Glacier National Park. You ever see a thing like this?
Oh, I remember those.
So
Wow.
what color was yours?
I think they would.
I think they were the red, like the, the
Like the
bright
red
color
ones.
ones.
It was red.
Red and white.
Something like that. Yeah.
Let's see if I can find, oh, here's Glacier National Park.
Oh, wow.
But you guys are coming up there into the winter, so I don't know if you're gonna get to any of these places. But there's some views of Glacier Park.
Oh, wow.
And you kind of probably have to shine it in the lights.
I think I remember what the one I had. It was my grandparents. I think it was like just Disneyland or something like that. Yeah, it's almost like 3D on some of them. Wow.
Our latest find, this is a clock that goes to a kid's room. He must have been a real spoiled kid. It's the nursery rhymes. There's Humpty Dumpty and all that kind of stuff on there.
Oh yeah.
And the lady, she brought it in and wanted to sell it because it was broke. It belonged to her dad, and nobody in the family wanted it. And we looked it up online. And Stacy comes out, I'll give you $25 for it. But online it sold for $1,400.
Oh my, wow.
So we had to pay out the you-know-what to get it. But we got it. So.
It was worth every penny. It's a cute clock.
And then there's this clock down here that winds on barometric pressure. I'll move that so you can...
Here, let me get out of your way.
And then you need to talk to them about our artists that do the windows. But this winds on barometric pressure, and this is what I call the Cadillac anniversary clocks. They hardly move. They keep fairly good time, and what's neat about them is that you put them up, set them, and set the time on them, and you don't have to worry about them. And they wind. You don't have to wind it. It winds with barometric pressure, so when the weather changes outside, it winds the clock.
Wow. It's a barometric.
And they give those away for retirement gifts and stuff. But there's not a lot of them around. There's a few of them, and I've got a couple of them to repair.
Airships.
Yeah. Or when we redid the store a few years ago, we wanted that airship to go back and forth on a little trail.
Oh my.
And then they came up with these, and they were like almost a little bit too too big for what we had in mind for the tram,
Right.
but they're awesome.
That is awesome.
This
Wow.
one has a deck that's covered with vintage yardsticks from whatever, advertising yardsticks. And then the deck on this one over here, any little postage stamp sized pirate maps or treasure maps.
Oh my.
So hundreds of treasure maps on that one. And then Marvin built the stars.
I electrified the stars, and what I did is I used some old tea lights, kind of like this. This is not the exact tea light, but they went inside, so I tore them apart and I use them. And I tell the little kids that they're lit up with real fireflies. But really, there's a transformer over there in the corner that puts out 6 volts, 3 volts that lights those lights up. And the wires, those are actual wires, they're not springs. So. But what's neat about it is you can take and wind up the wire on a pencil and it'll pull it all the way to the top. And then if you want to change the distance of the star, you just pull it down. So.
Oh, that's very cool.
I like how it flickers. That's a really great touch.
Yeah. But they're the flicker flames. I don't know what happened to the flicker flame. I haven't.
I don't know either. It got lost.
Him for probably $20 or $30, but we didn't have the alarms.
Probably $150.
And then we put these on, but he tips over on the rope
He's not
because we
quite
don't have
balanced
enough
yet.
weights.
Yeah.
So
All the parts weren't there.
Yeah.
That's the story of our life. When we buy stuff, it usually needs to be repaired or tweaked
they
just
come
a
in
little
here
bit.
with
like
with
this.
we got to sell it really quick. Well,
This needed just had a loose screw or a missing screw.
I think I had to put it together. It was totally apart.
Oh, you did a fine job.
And then we collect coffee pots,
Oh, cool.
but I don't have them here. But this is a percolator that went on a wood cook stove, flat surface. And this is, I always said it went down with the Titanic, and I dove down and saved it because the patent on it was
April 12th, 19...
May 21st, 1912. So this would be kind of the stuff that they had during the time of the Titanic sunk.
Oh, wow.
But you put it on the wood stove and it perked the coffee. So most of us around here had what they call sheepherder's coffee, which was water and the coffee grounds were poured in it and it boiled, and that's the kind of coffee we had.
Well, if people want their Google clock fixed, we know where to take it or send it in the mail.
What is the average turnaround for, if you bring in a clock and...
Oh, you could expect to wait for 2.5 years, maybe. We have some clocks that showed up around the time I started about 20 years ago. And they still need a little something else.
How do you get parts
So
for
someone
it?
is that your own, or someone is waiting for it?
Somebody's waiting for it. I think her kids are starting to graduate from college now. And when she brought it in, she didn't have any kids.
Oh, wow.
But it was kind of a fun story with this clock that we moved a grandfather clock for her from here to Lincoln. This clock came from England as well, but she was never allowed to sit on any of the furniture as a young child, so she didn't appreciate it, and she gave it all to her cats and let her cats shred this fine ancient furniture, which I think is kind of funny.
It is.
But behind this piggy, and it's kind of a cool piece.
Yeah.
So you would think that you would want it to be as close to the way it was back then
Yep.
as possible.
Super stable, or as stable as it could be.
So you're actually custom building things for it to make it work, right?
Well, the clock works and everything. We
Yeah,
gotta
this
get
part works.
the legs fixed.
Yeah.
And there's a place in Anaconda, Montana that does what they call sand casting, and I can have those legs duplicated. And I just haven't got there. I go to Anaconda once a week, but I just haven't gotten the legs off to get it in there. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are probably a pop metal or some kind of a real light. This is a pretty hefty clock.
Yeah,
It
I
is.
can
Probably
imagine.
weighs 30, 40 pounds maybe.
It's heavy.
Yeah.
Wow.
But that's the cool stuff is she's not in that big of a hurry.
Oh yeah, it's
Right.
nice when they're not in a hurry. They get,
yeah.
It makes the story.
And
even
about
more
every
awesome.
5 years, she'll send her husband in. How's that clock? And the last time he would
Help themselves.
Yeah, we have high school kids that will just make a mad dash for this and then run out the door.
Oh, wow.
And they look at us like they're guilty of stealing or something. But little treasures. So this, could you imagine a piece of gum costing 1 cent?
Oh, man, yeah.
Tasty, I don't know where it says 1 cent on there.
Oh yeah,
but-
right there. One,
Oh, okay.
1 cent delivers a tasty chew.
Oh, there, yeah.
You got Joy Mint and hot, and you got the hot one.
And now these are like 17 cents a piece. Talk about inflation.
Right.
You're just fine. What can we do for you?
I don't disagree. And they did a kind of a band that kept side.
Watches, clocks, jewelry design, jewelry making, repairing. My specialty is pocket watches. The railroad pocket watches. This isn't a railroad one, but I'll set it down. Railroad had strict standards on their watches. They couldn't be off 2 seconds per day in the 6 positions. And the 6 positions were dial up, dial up, dial down, pinned it up, pinned it down, pinned it right, and pinned it left. They couldn't vary in speeds.
Oh yeah.
So let me wind this up. And sometimes it takes days to adjust these, especially if somebody's taken them and had them fixed by somebody that didn't want to take the time to readjust them, and then it's a real big pain. So that one wheel you saw over there underneath that dome is the same balance wheel as that.
Oh.
And that is the brain of the watch right there.
Wow.
And if that's adjusted properly, that watch will keep real good time in those 6 positions. Now I was going to show you this old one because this is the first Braille watch I've ever seen.
Wow. Real
And it's an old pocket watch, but they broke the crystal out and then they put little dots in there so that the guy, when he lost his sight, he could tell what time it was. So you just,
And you would actually be able to feel the arrows playing.
yeah, put your hand on it, you can kind of feel it. It ain't gonna bite you.
Oh, I see.
Can you see that?
Yeah, I could feel it. Huh.
A piece like that, if I can get right to it, sometimes it's a half a day. The chronograph, sometimes it's a whole day to do a chronograph. But these are not too bad, especially the newer ones. If you have to do a balance staff in them and stuff, then it takes a little bit longer. But the deal is being able to sit down and go from beginning to end, you know, cleaning and oiling it and tearing it down, putting it back together. It takes a little while to do that because of customers and
Oh yeah, that's true.
that kind of stuff. But here's kind of a neat thing. I had to fix a couple watches to get this, but this is a kid's toy about 1920s.
Wow.
Let me wind it up here then. This is the kind of stuff that I love to show these kids because of the technology, and this is actually your first CD. Because you have the back of it that lifts and drops the hammer, and then this cam moves the little man back and forth. And this song is supposed to be the old Kentucky home. But he's very old, and all the felt and stuff is off the bottom of this, so they don't sound very good. But it's kind of a neat toy.
It is very cool. So these older toys are way better than the newer toys. I mean, in terms of how intricate it is. And
I think the color is ugly,
oh yeah.
but people love that color. I just think it's horrible. But anyway, that's your first CD player.
Yeah.
And you didn't come up that way, but if you come from California, if you come up through Dillon, there's a little town called, it's Clark Canyon Dam. There was a town under that town before they filled it up. It was called Armstead. And during World War I, my great aunt took care of the communications, and this was her personal. At that time, they had to buy their own machine. So this is a transmitter and a receiver. This is the receiver that And what they did is they hooked it up to that line, and they sent the messages back and forth on that line, and I don't know how they could read it. It happened, moved really fast, but it was the telegraph.
Oh, yeah.
So
It is a real skill to be able to do the Morse code.
Morse code, yeah, because you have to.
I think I know the SOS. Basically,
Yeah.
that's easy. So.
But if I can find another one, I want to hook these up and show kids about Morse code.
Oh yeah.
So,
Yeah,
because that's basically your first, communication. So, and then we can make lights. I'm just going to move around to. So we make electricity. If you shine up here, this little box, we'll make electricity to run these Sputnik lights.
Very cool.
So now are you recording sound?
Oh yes, yes, thank you.
I'm going to set this one off when that's. This is something. This is sonora bells.
Yep. Sounds like our neighborhood.
Yeah, there's a church in our neighborhood
Yeah,
that does
plays
that,
that.
and it'll ding for what hour it's at.
So that plays on the hour and a half hour after it strikes. And that's back in the repair shop because the little kid got his hand in it. So, so now it's got a little bit of tinkeritis.
Just tinkering at it so quickly.
Let's see if it shuts off. Yeah, that'll shut off. And then we have, I'm going to play a few of these so that you can record it. This is a tubular chime, and you might shine in there. This was a Christmas present to her son, December 25th, 1890. And this, I'll just go one more time here. This has got authority. And I took the dial out of it because I wanted people to see how it played. But this is the dial for it, and then this is your.
That's amazing.
So one of these days I'll put it back on there. But
There's not a lot of people that know how to fix these things either.
yeah, not too many. And if they do, they're dumb.
So do people come from hundreds of miles for you to, or maybe even across the country to have you fix some of these items?
I had a grandfather's clock sent to me from New York City.
Wow.
He come through here and he sent me his family clock. He sent the guts to it, But he said he could never get anybody there to fix it, and it was a rare escapement. And I think the average person would have trouble with it. But I've done so many of them that I've come across a lot of that stuff, so I'm able to fix it. So my specialty is I love clocks and jewelry and stuff. I went to school and I can repair, do jewelry and design and stuff like that. But he does most of that now. And if you look at some of this stuff, this light
I'm going to be gone for next Tuesday.
is a fire hose nozzle.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it is.
And then if you look at that light, it's a flute. And I'll go wait on that. What do you got for you, sir? Well, I see that you got a can of keys, so that did you find one?
You know I did. Which one you didn't go on actually? You're just fine. What can we do for you?
This is the graveyard where clocks come to die. But they will be revived at some point, I assume. I like the clock sounds everywhere.
I don't know, there's a good sound when you have a whole bunch of them. Oh, is that the character Zippy that Kamala is spelling?
It might be. Zippy right here. If you would like to see more videos like this, please give a like or subscribe or comment on what you think about this store.